So thanks for joining us today. Today we have a special guest, and that's Kent Tilley from K4 Financial. Kent has a large YouTube following, so make sure we'll link his channel below as well. Kent will always be indebted to because Kent actually was the one that reached out to me originally back in April of 2021. So coming up a year ago, and I actually went back this morning and checked Kent. I had 323 subscribers on the day you emailed me and said, hey, let's do a video together. So I'll always be grateful for that. You helped me kind of get started. And we've been able to grow, YouTube channels where we help educate Canadians. And in this video, we're going to cover fee-for-service financial planning. We're going to do a second video on Kent's channel that's fee-based financial planning. So two different kind of models that are becoming more mainstream. It's how Kent and I run our businesses. And we think it's a way that you should look to build out your financial plan going forward. So Kent, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I mean, that's funny. You're like, so since we first talked less than a year ago, you've grown by like 1,000,000%, and I've grown by about 30%. So I'm just killing it. We might be kind of competition for one another, but at the end of the day, we know that we're only two people just trying to help as many Canadians as possible. And, there's millions of Canadians. We obviously can't service them all. So why are we competition? We should help each other.
Let's get into it. So we're going to cover off 5 different pieces of the fee-for-service. So what is it? The benefits of fee-for-service financial planning, pricing models that you should be looking at. So if you're looking for a fee-for-service financial planner, what are ways that you could pay for that service? What should be the cost be? We'll break that down. Is it right for you? And our typical clients that come into our door. So for Kent and I, who's the typical fee-for-service planner that walks into the door? So basically, fee-for-service financial planning is a one-time or a multi-payment fee for a financial plan. So it's essentially you're looking to get a financial plan in place. It's not attached to product or anything like that. It's just you want to pay a fee and get a financial plan. Typically, you're looking for tax savings, estate planning, some sort of structure, or just some guidance. I always tell people that you have all the puzzle pieces when you get close to retirement. A fee-for-service plan kind of we take all those pieces and give you kind of a GPS map heading into retirement. It's typically a set limit of time. So, for us, when we build out a financial plan after delivery, there's about a 3-month window. Beyond that, there's an option to continue the contract. But again, typically it's on an hourly or an annual basis at that point. And I think, Kent, you guys are roughly the same, correct?
I have done a number of fee-for-service plans over the years, and I always kind of messed it up because I didn't stick to a timeline. It was like, yeah, well, whatever, and we'll talk later. And you can, because I'm not as structured as you. And that was a mistake. Writing a one-time plan and helping sort of implement it should take about 3 to 6 months, I would think. And then the client can take it from there, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly.
Come back to us if they need more help.
And I guess talk about the benefits. Like on our end, I always see the fee-for-service, like why people I feel reach out to us is it's not attached to product. And people are tired of getting a plan that's attached to product because there's always people walking to their bank and they get a plan. And typically that plan is either selling you a product or it's a plan geared towards keeping that product at the bank as long as possible because that's how they get paid. So there's always a bit of a conflict of interest. So why the fee-for-service model, I think, makes a lot of sense, and why you and I have had traction on that is because people want a plan that lowers their tax bill, creates a good estate plan, kind of meets all the retirement goals, but isn't kind of pushing anything on them. And I think people appreciate that. I also think people like the cost certainty, right? It's here's what it costs, here's what you get. And there's no variable to that really.
And it was always the issue I had with this business was how do you create it so it's not a sales job? Because you know how when you used to work in an office and I did, and everything was about how much has everyone done every single day, and everybody's competing against each other to sell more. But it is still a sales job. We need people to come in the door and trust us. So how do we separate the two? And fee-for-service is perfect for that.
In the 80s and 90s, it was kind of the insurance salesperson, right? You meet a lot of people that older generation, they have insurance policies from these people back in the day. And then it kind of transitioned late 90s into about 2010, even up to 2015 was like the mutual fund stuff. And now it's converted kind of to the ETF. So it's like, hey, lower your fees, still pay me the full, embedded commission, but we're going to sell you an ETF that just costs a bit less to create the product than a mutual fund. So it's like The fees are trending down, but the structure hasn't changed. It's still embedded commissions and, sale of product. And that's where the fee for service is. It kind of separates product from service. And I think that's what a lot of consumers want, right? They want, sure, they might need a product of some sort at some point. And, again, we get a lot of DIY investors, but it's the service that separates it out. So as far as pricing goes, I get asked this quite a bit. I mean, our pricing is right on our website. I'm not sure, Kent, if you guys have yours right on your website, but if not, Kent will put his up here shortly. But I think it's important, and it drives me crazy when I go to other financial planner websites and they say, yeah, we do fee for service planning. Contact us for details. It's like, no, just put your fee out there. Like the fee is the fee, right? Like, so, I've always been transparent with that. Here's the fee. Here's what you're going to pay. Here's what you're going to get. Here's the end deliverable. It's right on our website. If it fits your need, perfect. Contact us or pay right online, essentially. Now, I have found, and you can tell me otherwise, Kent, that pricing is typically, 2,500 up to 10,000 plus. And the 2,500 model is more, maybe someone younger, not as much retirement planning. It's maybe more like lifestyle planning as you're younger. When you get into more retirement tax estate planning, typically kind of 5,000 up on pricing.
Yeah. Well, and I heard of, guys that won't do plans for under like 15,000 or whatever, and so it was always sort of, well, that from my side of the business, I guess it was like, I always wanted to cater to average Canadians. And I find that people with less generally need more help, because if you've got $2.5 million and you're like, can I retire? Yes, you can. And I find, but if you're in that, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 range, and you've got to really incorporate everything and make all of this stuff work together so that you can maximize your retirement, well, that's way too much money. I can't justify charging that much money, even though I'm sure if I showed you, it would save more than that in fees, but you're not going to be comfortable paying me $15,000 to run a plan for you that is going to kill your first annual budget.
Yeah, even if it saves them 100, 200,000 in tax, it's still a big upfront fee. And like you mentioned a good point, like a lot of people that come to us, the conversation after we get to, it's like, okay, you guys don't have an income issue. Like you have enough money you have a tax issue. And I think that's probably more than half the people that hire us to do plans is, look, they have millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands, like they have enough for retirement and they know that.
Right.
It's more like, I also know I'm paying way too much in tax. So how do I reduce that tax bill? And then you get other people that I don't know if I can retire. Can you kind of walk me through it and tell me, can I retire next year in 5 years? Or what does that look like? And so there's different kind of plans and structures of the plan. And I always tell people, if you're looking to do a fee for service plan, talk to Kent, talk to myself, find some other fee for service advisors that aren't attached to kind of the big financial institution that will sell you a product in the background.
Right.
Find an independent advisor, talk to a few of us, find the right fit for yourself, and then move forward with it.
There's going to be some people that resonate with Adam's message or mine or how I teach or how you teach. And if you find that you understand the way that we teach well, then it's really easy to be like, okay, I can follow the steps I understand, what he's saying and why. And then it makes it simple. Sometimes I'm like, you've watched enough of my videos that you don't need anything from me anymore. You've already set this up. You just need me to say that you haven't missed anything. And that's almost a perfect fee for service plan to be like, I'm just going to find these couple holes and you've got it from here.
One thing I hear quite often from viewers that I have phone calls with is, you know what, Adam? I was ready for retirement. I had everything planned. I knew I was on track. And then I started watching your videos and I realized I'm not even close.
Right.
Which is great, right? Like we do these videos to educate and bring up ideas and thoughts and process. And like I talk a lot about on my channel, like the psychology of retirement. Like there's a financial piece, but like the mental piece of retirement it's way bigger. And I think a lot of people don't prepare for that. And that all has to come into your financial plan and structure in that as well. So just to go back on pricing. So again, typically 25 to 10,000 is the pricing model. Some will do it hourly. Most of the time it's an upfront fee or maybe two fees if it's spread out over time. There's a financial planner does fee for service out of Toronto. And his model is he charges about, I think it's about 35 or 4,000 up front. And then he charges on a monthly basis. And he actually builds out each, like a piece of your plan every single month over a 12 to 18 month period. The problem I have with that though is you're dragging out the plan for so long. If someone wants or needs a plan in a few months or within 6 months, that model doesn't work.
Right.
But again, a lot of advisors I know on the fee for service side are going to more of a subscription model. They want that monthly revenue. For our end, like for fee for service, we do 100% upfront fee. You pay upfront, we put the plan together, we get it to you. It's a fairly quick turnaround. But I guess my point here is that there's different options. Like if you don't like and I've had people email me like, hey, Adam, I'm not doing it if it's upfront. I said, okay, there's other options out there. Like we do upfront. Right. That's our structure.
Yeah, and we do 50-50. Okay, we'll get a deposit before, we'll get the information, we'll build the plan, and then when we deliver the plan, then the remaining balance is paid. Just because, as you know, I mean, over time, we've both done a lot of work, I'm sure, for nothing, 1,000 times. So it was like, okay, well, how do I avoid that?
Next part, is it right for you? Typically, what we see come in anyway is DIY investors. So people that are good on the investing side, they enjoy it, they want to keep doing the investing. And a lot of people get close to retirement and they realize that maybe they've done a great job investing, but there's so much more to the retirement tax estate plan than just having investments. Like investments are just a piece of the retirement pie. Right. There's so much more to it. So, a lot of people, if you're a DIY investor and don't have a tax and estate plan for retirement, the fee for service model probably works well with you. Or just in general, if you're happy with your investments, whatever that structure is, and you just want the fee for service, then that would be for you as well. And we talk to people, they're happy with their investments, whether it's DIY or elsewhere. It's just, we need a plan now.
Yeah. And I mean, that's who I would be happy to do it for. I struggle with people that are like, I want a plan because I want a second opinion. And I'm like, you want a financial plan because you've never received one from the person handling your money that is charging you $25,000 a year.
Yeah.
And then I'm saying, well, I have a problem doing this plan for you because you're not listening to me anyway. And what are you paying for? Your person that's being very handsomely compensated and their firm should have done this and should be bending over backwards to do this for you. Yeah. And that's not an advisor. The investment side of it is the easiest side. Anybody can find a firm that can invest your money without a plan. Before I started K4, I interviewed because my wife wanted me to at a big 5 bank that said, okay, can you be a financial planner for clients between $2 and $5 million in assets? And I said, well, probably not, because my first thing I'm going to say is move your money.
Stop paying fees.
Right. Stop paying so much money for somebody that's not giving you a financial plan. I would have got fired pretty quick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Last thing I want to touch on here, and then we'll wrap it up, is kind of the typical client of ours. So I'll talk about our typical client. Kent, you can jump in after as well. So our typical client, again, they are people coming for a second set of eyes. I did a video a few months ago. A client came to us, hired us. I didn't know they had a plan from a big bank, but we put a plan together. We went through it with them. We delivered it to them. They came back to us about a week later and said, hey, Adam, like, this doesn't line up. Like, the tax savings is about $1 million. It was north of $1 million versus what the bank did for us. And so I said, you know what, send us what the bank did. We'll make sure it's apples to apples and we'll do another comparison for you. And we did that. And it was apples to apples. We went back. And I think the total savings was like 1.3 or 1.6 million. Like it was a massive amount. So we definitely get that like second opinion. Sometimes that second opinion is actually, one of the spouses or someone in the household has created a plan, and the other spouse or common law partner doesn't quite believe the plan that was put together. So, it's like Sally put together a plan and I trust her, but Jim's coming to me for, a second set of eyes on Sally's plan to make sure that it's actually legit. So we definitely get that once in a while. Definitely, a lot of people that are at a big financial institution, big bank, whatever it is, that have been paying, and they've never gotten a plan, or they've gotten a very basic plan. And we hear a lot, like, it's so sad because people reach out, I'm like, does the bank not do a plan for you? They're like, oh no, we went in and their plan was basically told us we'll be okay to retire. Like, that's their plan, is like, you're okay to retire. And so, people are tired of that too. And then the last people, again, it's just people that want to pay less tax. Whether they know they have enough or not, they just come to us and say, look, I know I have an okay plan in my head, but I know I'm paying too much tax too. At the end of the day, you know, you and I will agree, and I think 99% of viewers will agree with us, that we'd rather give more money to family, loved ones, charity than CRA. And, you know, we have to pay taxes. That's unavoidable. But there are ways to pay less. And I think that's where people that like the fee for service planning makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I mean, and it always comes down to tax. And you and I know this is like, tax is the one thing that we can control better than anything else within a financial plan. And especially in retirement, it's not so easy building up to it if you're just a salaried employee. I mean, there's very few things that you can do to reduce your tax other than typical things that everybody does with RSPs and TFSAs. But when you roll into retirement and you structure it correctly, there are ways where you can definitely pay less to the CRA over time and upon death. It's hard for people to believe if you're like, look, I'm going to save you $1.3 million in tax. And they're like, no, you're not.
And that's why I love planning software too, because I can show you like, hey, here's where you were and what you're doing. And here's what we recommend. And here's the tax bill. Like, you know, that's where planning software actually takes charge of, like, we can show you real nominal taxes, all these data points that, you know, how do we get to the tax? We can show the process, we can show the numbers, you know, and people always ask, like, okay, well, if we're going to pay you, you know, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 for Plan Adam, like, what's the benefit for us? And it's like, well, I don't know your situation. I can't tell you what the actual benefit is going to be, but typically it's, you know, $50,000 to $500,000. You and I, what we talk about on our channels a lot is, here's some concepts, ideas, thoughts, whatever, but everyone's situation is different. You may or may not fall into this. It may or may not be right for you, but it's something to think about. I always say, when I create a video, I'm creating it for 100,000 people. Whether 100,000 watch it or not, that's what I'm trying to do. Well, of course, 100,000 people aren't needing the same advice, but you try and hit the largest market and majority that you can. There's always going to be outliers. And those are the people that send us, you know, nasty emails and comments and whatever. And I love it. I got thick skin, so it's all good.
I'm a comedian. I don't have thick skin.
Exactly.
One thing that I do want to note I think we should maybe talk about quickly before we go, if you don't mind. Kind of, a lot of people want a DIY plan, but I think there are some people that really shouldn't have a DIY plan, even though that they think they should. And the problem is, I know from reading a lot of things, and you obviously do too, that a lot of people will get a DIY plan but won't follow through, but they'll think they did, almost like, oh, I got the plan, and then they actually don't do the steps, and then it doesn't work as well as it should. And so that is like sort of one of the things about being an ongoing advisor compared to like you know, one time sort of thing is, are you going to follow the steps, or do you just want one? And then that could be a complete waste of money because you don't actually follow through with what has to be done. That's one of the things I would think about before deciding, you know, what's right for you. And I personally would tell people, I think you're a perfect fee for service candidate, or in my opinion, you know, I think you should go with sort of the other more traditional old school model, and we'll help you through those sort of steps. So
yeah, which leads us great into the video that we'll do on your channel here on fee-based financial planning. So we'll cut this off here. Thank you so much for joining us today, guys, but make sure you check out the fee-based financial planning. So the fee-for-service financial planning and the fee-based financial planning, they're different. Kent and I do both of them. So make sure, you know, hopefully you have a better idea what fee-for-service financial planning is. Jump over to Kent's YouTube page. We'll link it below. And we'll talk about fee-based financial planning, what that looks like, and why that might be a good fit for you. So thanks for joining us in this video. Kent, thank you so much for joining us. And we'll see you in the next one.
Appreciate it. Beauty.